Hey guys, what's going on? It's that Home Theater Dude Guy, bringing episode 4 today. I'm out here in Boulder, Colorado at PS Audio. We're actually doing a factory tour right now, and it's really, really cool to actually be in this position to, do these factory tours and to give this stuff to you guys, because, sometimes you guys are across the nation, across the world. You guys can't necessarily come down to these things. So I'm putting my time and effort into this, and we're over at the PS Audio factory, and I really can't wait to go ahead and do it. And we're going to go ahead and show you some demos in this room, and then hopefully we'll be able to tour the entire grounds. And I'll go ahead and start everything right after the intro. Ready to tour?
Ready to tour. All right, let's get in here. So right off the bat, we walk into our engineering wing. So our engineering wing houses, of course, every part of our engineering group. So everything from our architectural and industrial design folks who will design internal layouts or external layouts of components and, well, of course, now speakers, now that we're designing those. Also, we have our two electrical engineers have their desks here, so Darren Myers and Bob Stather. We'll see projects throughout. All the desks here on the left are all of our electrical engineering, or excuse me, our coding folks. So they'll work on firmware updates, both for new products and existing products on the market. We have our Director of Communications, Bill Liebens, who's responsible for Copper Magazine. And of course, working with our reviewers and making sure that our stuff gets out there to be in print. Mr. Paul McGowan's desk, so CEO and one of the co-founders of PS Audio. Empty, he's probably busy doing CEO things. His photo booth, so all the photos from the website are done by Paul. He's got a pretty, well, it works very well for what we needed to do, and photography is a hobby of his.
A lot better than mine.
In here is our technical bench area, so we'll find some of our service technicians like Dave, Larry, and then we have, well, we've got Darren and Jordan back here, which Darren's our electrical engineer, and then Jordan kind of helps out with the electrical engineering folks in building prototypes, so Darren Myers. Darren was responsible for our Stellar series of amplifiers, our Stellar Phono, heavily involved in the speaker project, so Darren's been doing great for us.
Thank you. Good work, Darren.
We'll see everything back here from pretty new products. Could be warranty repair, things happen. Or we have some things that are pretty old. So 20, 15 years old in some cases. If we can still get the parts for it, we do our best to continue to repair them for flat rate. So we don't try to make any profit off those repairs. So we have our own audio precision machinery here, so the guys can do testing once they're done with their repairs, ensure that it tests exactly how it should have when it was brand new. So nice, expensive machinery, and allows these guys to ensure that they've done the work that we know they can do. Darren and Bob's kind of personal electrical engineering layer, I suppose.
Kind of looks like a clean room.
Yeah. So in here we'll do, this is where they build prototypes for stuff. So this is where circuit boards, things like that, the initial layouts are done. We can see one of the, not so early, but one of the early prototypes for Darren's phono stage. So Darren essentially hand designed this, and then we go off to a printed manufacturer who will build these for final production. But this is one of the ones that was close to the end.
It's very impressive.
Yeah. And then wind our way around with parts and things like that laying around. Jeremy is another one of our technicians here. Looks like he's working on a BHK 250 amplifier. Yep. And then throughout, in some cases we see prototypes. But yeah, we have all the machinery back here so the guys can take care of their jobs and make sure that the products get back on the road like they're supposed to.
Well, terrific. What's next?
In here is our kind of, I suppose it's a bit of a catch-all space. So we have, of course, wiring, things like that for our technicians. We also keep spare parts for some of the older products. So in some cases we have difficulties getting parts for some things that are out of production. So when we get trade-ins, which we do take trade-ins on all of our products, some cases it's PS Audio products, some cases it's other manufacturers, but if it's PS Audio, we bring it here, and if we have the ability to use some of those parts for any sort of future repair, we'll salvage them so that the next person can keep their product on the road.
Yeah, whenever I work on my car, I always have spare parts. So
always good. You never know when you're going to need them, and when you don't have them, you're going to miss them. Back here is our mini fabrication area. not used as much as we used to. We have moved to a 3D printing for a lot of our new prototypes. So while the guys sometimes will come back here and shave corners off or drill holes and things, mainly we 3D print to get a good idea of what we're going to eventually become a product, and then mock it up, and then once we're done we can move on to full fabrication, which we move to a vendor. We'll go up the ominous set of stairs here, which seems like we're going to a storage shed, but in fact it is to our mastering studio. We will have called Octave Records. So we've already recorded one record with our mastering where Gus Guinness resides. Gus was responsible for a good portion of the SACD project at Sony. So Gus is particularly great at the DSD side of recording and mastering. So in here is where he does his magic, and some of it is just fun stuff. Other stuff is fully functional. So he's got some fantastic Sony speakers that were developed by Sony for the DSD project. So they have some particular parameters that are quite good, and they were very reasonably priced at the time. And he has a full 5-speaker setup, so it's a full surround mix in here.
That is insane.
And you'll see speakers throughout, so it seems like it's a lot more than 5, which is true. Gus is continually working on projects for immersive audio stuff, so haven't quite gotten to hear some of that stuff, but this room actually sounds particularly great. Even though the sound treatments are, I guess, sort of minimal, but they're still abound.
Wow.
Yeah.
This is so cool.
Secondary rooms here with sometimes old equipment, sometimes it's not used, but this particular board they bought recently, and I believe was previously owned by Neil Young. Rock and roll can never die. And by some of the recording studios as a traveling recording unit. So it was in a van so that artists could record on the road. I believe the Stones recorded on this. It's not light, it's very heavy, but kind of a cool keepsake, and I believe it's still completely functional and they still can use it today. So Gus uses a mix of different things depending on what he's doing, and while we know the audio side, this side is almost a dark art, but he's really good at it.
Old school.
Yeah, and so soon we will have, Gus is going to be doing some projects for PS Audio, and so we'll have some releases come out with Octave Records, so they'll be from PS Audio, but they'll be DSD-based recordings. Will be available from our website most likely. Then in here is our first level of our warehouse, mostly raw components that will end up being a product at some point. So we'll see tops for some of our stellar amplifiers, raw chassis components for what appears to be a direct stream DAC there. So we have one of our technicians put together the chassis here. In some cases they're put together and moved on to a powder coater who will powder coat and send them back to us for final production. You'll also notice in this room that when we purchased this building about a year ago, the previous owner actually had a large anechoic chamber in here. And by large, I mean extremely large. You can actually see the outline that goes along the floor here and stretches all the way back to the end of the building. So it was an extremely large anechoic chamber. We wanted to keep it, but things didn't quite work out, so they ended up tearing it out before we got the building, and would have been nice and beneficial while we do our speaker project. So in here is our final production area with all of our finished components going off to end users.
This is so cool.
Yeah.
Like a Kidney Kenny store.
Well, pretty much. Raw chassis components, which are essentially complete and assembled. These look like some of our P3 regenerators that, based on the rear panel, are international units, but they're pre-built, and then once those are built up, they move over to our final production area, so, which is in this area here. So we have our production team, which runs as a assembly line, so each one of these guys has to know how to make every single one of our products. Each product will, depending on the type of product, will end up at one of two stations, depending whether it's high or low voltage. So high voltage will end up with Lou over there, which he'll handle regenerators and power amplifiers and has his own set of audio precision testing machinery over here. We have another set of audio precision testing machinery on the left side, which handles all the low voltage stuff. So back here we have our production folks who are putting together a wide variety. So we have everything from essentially all of our products that are assembled here in Colorado. Looks like right now they're working on a set of Stellar M700 amplifiers, which are Class D output stage, Class A input stage amplifiers, which will do up to 700 watts into 4 ohms. So it looks like they're running through a batch of these, and then depending on the build schedule, they may run into, could be amplifiers or power regenerators next. So as you mentioned, there's the high voltage station on the far side. Right behind us is the low voltage station as well.
What's the build time on one of those that they're working on?
In all honesty, probably 30, 45 minutes if we just set them out to do just that one thing. Of course, we've got a little bit of a build time and a queue. But generally, we have things kind of ready to go, and our commitment is to have same-day shipping for all of our products. Folks at Golden Ear were nice enough to help us out for some music for our guys here.
Still trying to get them to send something over to my house.
Gotta call Sandy.
Yeah, I got to.
Sandy's a friend. He's a good guy. Once we're done with the production process, it moves over to our final boxing. So they'll do a final inspection, toss in remotes, power cords, manuals, all included, boxed up, and typically it finds its way to a customer pretty shortly after that. And so we have a bit of a mess going on right now because we just got back from Rocky Mountain Audio Fest, so there's things kind of in places that they don't normally reside. We'll see here, which was the initial prototype for our AN3 speakers. We showed these at Expona in 2019.
That was a blast.
Yeah, absolutely. We had a great show
sounded
there.
Great too.
We liked them, and you know, when the team decided to redesign them, I was a little apprehensive, but what we showed at Rocky Mountain seemed to be a significant step forward, so we're happy that the new design, and the guys will continue to tweak as we eventually have them available, hopefully, you know, mid through 2020. So up here we have our sales and customer service area. So all of our retail sales folks, our wholesale folks, so pot of desks on the left would be all the sales team members, including myself, Joey, Jason, and James. And then on the other pot of desks is our customer service folks, TJ and Mark, as well as our sales director, Scott McGowan, and Travis, who is our international wholesale account manager. So he works with all of our distributors across the world. As you just saw, we had our full suite of our current lineup of gear, minus a stand, which we borrowed for Rocky Mountain. So we have somewhat of a...
Yeah, some things are in short supply after a big event.
Yeah, they get robbed a little bit, so it's okay. Over here is our product museum. So we have everything from the very first product we ever made, which was a small, I shouldn't say we, Paul made, about 40 years ago, which was a small phono preamplifier that they were mail ordering for $59. Mail in a check and get a phono preamp. Up to...
was that the slogan?
Should have been. Yeah, I mean, at the beginning, it was having a hard time finding distribution because they were a new company getting going, and mail order was the way they went. So, you know, with the fact that we're retail direct now, it actually started that way. So we have most of our products here. Some of the notable pieces, we were one of the very first companies to make a commercially available DAC shortly after CDs were hitting the market. So that was 1986 that we came out with our first digital link. And of course, digital to analog converters are still a key component in our lineup. Of course, we progressed through our digital to analog converters through over the years and moved into some of our power products, which we see some of the early ones. So power regenerators, which again, one of the very few companies out there that does a power regenerator rather than a conditioner. So these are some of the early models. So pretty game-changing at the time, and I think they're still pretty unique.
I like how you have the model number next to the year, and you can definitely see the evolution of the company through time.
Yeah, and we think of it as just a museum, but in all honesty, we'll have folks that will call up and ask about it.
There was a big jump in between 1998 and the 2000s.
Yes.
So you guys went from a black chassis to a really nice premium-looking chassis over here.
Yeah, we tried to keep the kind of swoop factor of the sine wave that we've done here, so you'll still see that kind of reminiscent in some of the early 2000s stuff. Still stuck with some of our power components, then we see some of the more recently discontinued items from our lineup, some of which even in the last year or two. And even some of our early editions of our Sprout integrated amplifier, which was pioneered by Scott McGowan, Paul's son. And that was actually revised about a year ago to the Sprout 100. So yeah, we continue to try to kick out some new products for everybody as quickly as we possibly can without sacrificing.
So cool.
And then in here we'll walk into our listening rooms. So we have 3 listening room spaces. In here is our Stellar components. So we have our Stellar Gainsell DAC, M700s with a small setup in a lounge area. Again, some turntables and things like that that are strewn about because we just came back from a show.
There's tons of SA CDs in here.
There are, and it helps to have some folks that pioneered that. So we're still finalizing some of the artwork and things like that. So we're still fixing the rooms up because we only moved in about a year ago, which seems like a long time, but in reality, not so much. Music Room 1 is mainly used for our speaker development projects. So normally, if we weren't at a show, we would find this big empty space over here to be where we're working on our speakers. So we'd have those with a full system set up so that we can listen to those, spin around, and listen to Arnie Nudell's personal set of speakers. So he had made these after retiring for himself. So these are what he put together and felt that that was what he wanted at home. And of course, Arnie helped found Infinity, which his design is what we see in the IRS-5s next door. So we use these as a reference point to find out if how close we are to Arnie's vision. We believe that we're pretty close. I mean, I'd love to have Arnie here to help us, but for now we've got his speakers as a good legacy, and eventually we'll have the speakers back in here to do some more work.
Terrific.
So we're here at PS Audio's Music Room 2, which houses our reference system. So this is the setup we have with our Infinity IRS-5s. They are one of 58 pairs that were ever made, and they're about 40 years old at this point. So over the years, we've done a number of things for upkeep, including outboard crossovers, which are the little black boxes you'll see behind. We've just recently replaced some of the amplifiers. Just given their age, they've required a little bit of tender loving care. But for our gear that's attached to them, we have 3 of our P20 regenerators in the middle there, which one P20, the one on the left, will power the subwoofer tower. The one on the right powers the right subwoofer tower. And then the one in the middle powers our 2 BHK 300 amplifiers, which are responsible for power going to the big wing towers, which are the mids and the highs. All the source gear, or the front end stack of equipment, consists of our BHK preamplifier, direct stream DAC. We have another power regenerator, our P15, that powers this stack and gives it clean power. And then we have our direct stream memory player for CD playback. We have a clear audio turntable, which may be retired soon, but it's been in here for a number of years, and it probably has seen better days, but that's okay. It's served us well. And then we source everything currently off of a Mac Mini running Audirvana and Caboose. That will likely be soon to be replaced too, as we have an upcoming music server. So that will likely be our primary source for music at the time. In terms of cabling, we have a mix of our own power cables, our AC series of power cables, along with interconnects come from either AudioQuest or MG Audio out of Colorado Springs.
Yeah, I heard Paul talking about how he really enjoys those AudioQuest.
Yeah, he does. They're fantastic. In fact, you can see the really long ones going from the preamplifier around. They're the blue cables here, which AudioQuest was kind enough to make for us, which is a pretty long length. But it's necessary for the type of room where we have the source gear off to the side, which is ideal both for convenience and for sound. You're not disturbing anything in the back waves there. So behind the speakers, you'll see a pair of quadratic diffusers, which are fantastic for any sort of dipole speaker. They tend to break up that back wave really well. On the sides, we have some absorption, which generally don't use absorption, but in this case we do, because that's that first reflection point. So some nice foam diffusers there. And then in the rear of the room, we've got a few bass traps just to keep the bass nice and even throughout the room. And these are a pretty unique design that allows you to diffuse or absorb depending which way you spin them. The room itself was constructed maybe 9 months ago. We built this room along with the 2 that are next to it to house, of course, our new gear and suit us up for our new building that we moved in about a year ago. This particular room we custom built. It was an open area prior to this, and some of the things are obvious in terms of height and width. And of course the corners that we've notched out to make sure there's no 90 degrees, including crown molding on the top to make sure there's no 90-degree corners. But some of them are not so obvious, such as the right wall over here actually is not a straight wall. It actually comes out about 6 inches over the entire run of the distance, which again keeps a parallel wall from happening and again improves for sound. Still a pretty good sizable room, but these speakers can fill it up pretty easily and they do quite well in here.
Well, terrific. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
All right, guys, I'm gonna go in this video here. Thanks so much to Kevin for actually showing me around the facilities. It's been very cool to actually be in this position to check out all this stuff for you guys. You know, sometimes you guys won't be able to come down to these facilities. You may live far away. You may live completely in a different country. So I wanted to go ahead and just tour these facilities, see if I can go ahead and film it, and pretty much bring you guys here was my entire intent for this video. So thanks so much to Kevin. Make sure you like, favorite, share, and subscribe, and I'll keep the videos coming. Catch y'all next time.